923. I hope you're having a safe and, peaceful 923. Excuse my camera when I picked my pen up. There's so many things I want to bring you. I really have so many video ideas, and I don't even know if I'm bringing you the right thing. But this one feels like a good one for today, because this chapter talks about these pillars, and they have to do with Solomon's temple. And there's kind of some nice calendar messages in here. So we are again in this book, Pi in the English Alphabet, Volume 1 by Marty Leeds. And this is a good book to buy. And I guess he has a DVD. I'm going to show you the back page. I guess he has a DVD series. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. Guess he has a DVD series. Talks over here what he has. Oh no, those are where he gets his information. Okay, so here he is. He looks familiar to me. And he's been a guest on Red Eyes Creations, and he's a songwriter. And he has a full-length solo record. What else was I going to say about him? So he has some more books. I'm going to have to get more of his books, even though they are a little expensive. They're like $20, but they're really good. The other thing I wanted to say is I think that he probably learned this. Someone probably taught him this, because he doesn't write this from a point of view of first he tried this, and then he tried that, and then he had this theory, and then he had that theory. So I think that he's sharing what he was taught. All right, well, actually, let me fix the light, and then I'm going to start here. Okay, so he says, Freemasonry celebrates the pillars of Boaz and Jachim, the pillars that graced the entrance to Solomon's temple, the first temple in Jerusalem. These pillars are often depicted with the sun on one side and the moon on the other, or as opposites, black and white, illustrated on the high priestess card of the major arcana of the tarot deck. And here's that. I kind of wish I had this in the color. I'd like to look at more of the symbolism. I think there's a fruit behind her that is important. I think these are the horns of Taurus. He does get, I think it's this chapter where he gets into the horns of Taurus. It's pretty interesting. He actually ties the horns of Taurus to the etymology to uterus. I was like, okay, that sounds like an interesting idea. Okay, so here it says, what is most interesting? Okay, so let's see. Freemasonry and alchemy, these pillars represent many things, gateway to the higher spiritual self, the symbolic entrance to the high wisdom of the ages, the cosmic duality, electromagnetic polarity, or unity of opposites at work in creation. What is most interesting about Boaz and Jachim is that the Gematria values of these two pillars point to a calendar used by many ancient cultures, cleverly encoded in different ways. One thing I want to say again, I know I say this a lot, like I want to point this out, or one thing I want to say, and I don't know, I don't think I'm going to be able to randomize my my vernacular enough, but anyway, I've noticed that. But he is probably an insider. He's probably raised by Freemasons, and I just want to say does not mean he's a bad person. In fact, I've talked about this in a few videos. Usually team light or team good, team love, usually they will incarnate into these inner families on many different levels, and what the challenge is, basically they dilute any darkness that would be in that family. Maybe it's a dark family, maybe it's not, because I've said that there's going to be lots of diversity in all these families. But I just want to point out again that beautiful children with lots of love are incarnating into these families. And so just because they are taught from within and they could be an insider does not mean that they have the motivation of some of the dark people there. A lot of the way that people with love are using to cleanse and clear this planet is to incarnate into dark families. So we see this a lot, and we also see every once in a while dark beings incarnating into light families, and they intend to cause chaos there. But the way that the light tries to heal a dark family is they come in, and basically their very first and only mission is to survive, and then to not carry on the sin and distortion that's in the DNA. And then if they can stay straight and true until the time that they have children, then they have the opportunity to pass on clear DNA, because I believe that DNA is updated constantly, and so you can heal the DNA from within. And then in this way, those children, and then what happens usually is that the families usually do incarnate within families again. And so then these people of the ancestors, say there were dark Freemasonry ancestors, they would either have to pick another Freemasonry family to incarnate into that is dark enough, or they will have to be raised by a lighter parent who was their descendant in a past lifetime and now would be their ancestor in a next lifetime. So this is how it works. And it's done, really, that these are the front lines. So the children are working on the front lines of this. So I think that's kind of a beautiful way to look at it, and to kind of get the idea of the true love that's happening and the true work that's being done, even by the children and by people, say, like Scott. Sorry, his name is Marty Leeds. Yeah. So, all right, I'd like to listen to his music. I bet it's good. Okay, I looked at this word tarot because I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting, and it was. So in the center there is, let me focus this, hold on. So one thing I noticed right away is that you have a 2020 gateway, which is the 40, and that's the number that I am associating with us, the people. And in our country, it comes to mean the U.S. or the commoners of the U.S., but it's also, it's every culture. I just haven't decoded enough cultures. And then in the center is the birth number. This is the B that opens up into the R for birth or manifestation. And the digital root of this is a 9. Then the A and the O are the 1 and the 15, and that turns into, adds to a 16. So these would be outer valence fields. So the core is an 18 or a 9. The next outer field is a 16, which is the letter P. And when I see this by itself in a valence field, like you could add it here to the middle, and I want to show you this. You add it here to the middle, and then this is pi, because it's 25. So this would be the completion. There's the start and the finish in this number, because there's the birth, the manifestation, the idea, and then there's the finish, the all and the nothing, the converging and the diverging symbolism of 9 in vector 9 mathematics. Okay, then this next valence field, so that's a pi. I should write that, except for I'm writing with my left hand. For when I'm writing in a book, I always want to keep it kind of nice and clean. And then if I switch the camera to my other hand, then I accidentally mess up the microscope. I mean the microscope. Oh my goodness. Okay, where's my pen? You guys have got to be laughing. Okay, there it is. Sorry. Jeez. Excuse me. Okay, 25. And I'll just write a little pi here. Okay, now this, I'm going to fix this. They have light problems and everything. Light, when I came over here, the light on the over there has better side, so it shines from the side. Okay, the 16 is, by itself, it's a P. And so this is part of the Chi Rho. This is the main staff of the Chi Rho. And if we're going to spin things, like we're talking about, this is a toroidal field, kind of works into the torus idea that we're going to come to later. If we're going to spin things, then this would be lowercase phi. And we see this symbol on the crown of Nefertiti, and I have a Nefertiti video in my unlisted video blog, and if you are interested in that, it's a place where I share more personal stories, past lifetimes and things. and there are past lifetime mentions in that video. And if you're interested in that, you can ask to see that. And you need to send me your email by my email, which is dandelionsong@gmail.com. All lower cases works the best. Okay, so here we have a pi and a phi. So we see the pi and the phi relationship, and also in here we see that this would be the phi. It could also be the pi, but because it's really only one, only one Kalel rule off of the 17 of pi, which would make it the Q. But what I want to show you is that one of them is that they're inside each other. They have a relationship here. This is sort of the phi by itself, and then when you add it to the 9, it becomes pi. So from that direction, what happens, well, the symbolism is phi represents destiny, or the creation, the fractality of creation, the way it was meant, the way it was set out for us. And then we were meant to create, we were meant to have ideas and manifest and play in this playground, and that would be the role of the R, manifesting. And then our influence on the creation would be ideally would be holy, and it includes pi. Now, and I've told you that pi in its Q form interrupts phi. Okay, I have a place to write right here, actually. Okay, I'm going to get a different place. Okay, so it's interesting how the tarot just has all of this information basically in its Gematria Valence fields. So far, I'm the only person I know who is looking at this type of thing, where you look at the word as if it was apple or a toroidal field. But there's a lot of ancient symbolism to support, least of which is these Taurus horns, that supports that we need to look at Taurus fields. Okay. So the way that this would say, like if there was a sentence, and I've said that there is a sentence inside of each word, and the sentence here would be the birth of P, phi, destiny, through the body of the people. Okay, so then that's right, we didn't get to the outer valence field, which is the body of the people. So we have the birth of P, and when it adds together, the birth plus the 16 plus the P is pi, should be holy action, through the people. The T and the T. Well, this is the double cross. So the T and the T, the symbolism of the T is that if it goes down to the bottom, if it falls, then you have two kinds of fallen angels. And that forms basically, in this case, because it's, and maybe that's why there's two of them. It formed this. What I want to say is, I'm figuring this out as we go along. I don't have a book. Nobody's teaching me. So if you have an idea about this, your idea is just as valid as anybody else's. I am picking up tidbits where I can, but so this is the body of the people right here, and it's born through the body of the people, and that makes a lot of sense. Now, in the Menorah Gematria, sorry, that's my little code for that, really bad. The T's are 7s, and then the center here is a 5. The center would also, the complete inner valence core would be an 8. That's the infinite loop of time. Better if I had written it sideways. Why can't I talk? Gosh. It's morning time. Okay. Well, if we take this a straight valence, the very inner part of this in this menorah code is a 5, which is the pentacle. So we'll draw the upright pentacle. Then this next outer valence field is a 3. So that is the Trinity of Sons. And I showed you recently in a video where I showed you Wayne Herschel's pictures about the Trinity of the Sun having to do with the Washington Monument. Oh, that's right. It's on the video having to do with the alignment of the Washington Monument today as you look west towards the dying sun. It casts a shadow back towards the Capitol building. And then on that video, I have more of Wayne Herschel's videos. Pictures about the Trinity of the Sun and what that means, and the Star of Ra, because this is the idea of the Star of Ra. Well, then on the side here in the menorah gematria, we have the way, and we've seen these divergent sevens again and again. So very interesting that this. So yeah, I'm just going to do a way video all on its own. But way, the gematria of way is 7, and if you're new, the 7 sevens show up everywhere. They're in a highway, they're on somebody's hat, they're on the, in my intro or my outro, I have a picture of the Philadelphia train, and if you pause it right there and it's not blurry, you should be able to see the 106 on the corner head of the train with its right eye out. So that's the symbolism of this. And what I had noticed is this has to do, they especially highlight this with their humiliation ceremonies or initiations that they have, where they put, like, say, Tiger Woods through a humiliation, or the train, which would be us, through a humiliation. But they also use it in other ways, and it basically has to do with your choice. Like, you're inside the game and you are now choosing, and this is the way. This is one of the signs of Isis, and it does start again to look like a uterus and the birth and having Taurus type of ideas. So okay, let's see, I'm going to pause, and then now I've been seeing these numbers in the Pope Gematria and just basically in other important numbers, and I think that's probably why they chose this date for JFK's assassination. I'm not sure whether it was a fake or a real assassination. I just don't have time to study all that in depth. But it's interesting that it shows up here in the Boaz, which is the moon. It's the moon pillar here, and this is menorah gematria. Write that there. Oh, that looks like a trident. Okay, it's not supposed to look like a trident. There's supposed to be 7 of these. Okay, so, but if you add Boaz and Jachim, I don't know if I'm saying that right, it ends up to be 26, which is the God number. It's also IQ in the simple gematria. So these type of gematrias really lay over each other and they form a bridge. So the other thing I wanted to point out, excuse me, is in the middle, in the beginning, in the middle of this word Jachim, which is the sun pyramid, pillar, it has the days of the year, and they form the letter Chi. And I also wanted to point out that Phi forms the letter Chi. Forms the 365. I hope that my stammering is not contagious. Oh my gosh. Okay. Come on, brain. Let's go. Connect to the mouth. We can talk. Okay. So the J in the menorah gematria is a 4, and this is a 1. So this is in the simple gematria, this is the blind sign. But when we add it to the outer valence field here, because this is obviously the inner valence field, even though the 36 is really the inner, because that's the 9 and it's the 2 in the center. Over here we have another 6. But if we take this outer valence field, it adds to a 42, and that's the meaning of life. And so here they're pairing the meaning of life with the days of the year. Okay. Takes a lot of bravery for somebody like me to make videos, because, yeah, I know it's hard. I know some of you want to make videos too, and you're shy about your voices, and we have a conspiracy of that you have to be perfect before you teach. And we also, I was thinking about this yesterday, I was like, oh, I should tell them this. We have a conspiracy, it's not a conspiracy, okay, it's a brainwashing or a paradigm. So we have a paradigm of that you have to be perfect before you speak or teach. You have to know your subject completely before you teach, and you have to have a piece of paper that says that somebody else agrees that you know your subject completely before you teach. And not only that, but we have a paradigm that says if you want to learn something, you need to go and find someone else to teach it to you. And I just invite you guys, I know that each of you, I believe everybody has a piece to the puzzle. And maybe, you know, whatever's holding you back is what is going to endear you to your listener, because it's okay to teach even when you're not perfect, or you even don't have a perfect solid idea about things, just things that you notice. For one thing, it empowers your viewer to go and figure stuff out for themselves, because they see you honestly working at it, even though you might be stammering or saying something wrong, or, you know, things like I do. All right, so I'm going to pause this, get the next thing I want to tell you. Marty Leeds does an interesting job about explaining what Boaz and Jachim have to do with our calendar, and what it also has to do with the menorah code, because the menorah code breaks the letters into two parts of 13, which equals 26. And then he talks about if we multiply the menorah code, we end up with 364, which is 1 day short of the solar year. And so I wanted to bring this to you because I thought it was a little bit hopeful that in ancient days they had this calendar, which was 13 months with 28 days. And so I don't want to read it word for word, and maybe you'll be interested in buying this book to know this precisely. And I think Marty Leeds has videos on YouTube, so it'd be interesting to go and see if he has a video just on this topic. So anyway, here it says that Christmas would therefore not be counted on the calendar and would be a day out of time. Now, I like it when there actually is something wonderful and holy about this day. And so I'm going to try to remember this. Here it talks about the 12 houses of the zodiac, known as our horoscope, have derived from the word Horus, the Egyptian sun god, and scope meaning space for movement. So it talks about that there are many ancient calendars having to do with a 13-month, 364-day calendar, and he ties this to the deck of cards, a 52. He ties this to this pyramid, which has 4 staircases of 91 steps. Now, the 91 steps, you have to kind of do the deck of cards derivation to see that the summation code of each suit equals 91, and 4 times that is 364. And so that is also encoded in this pyramid, which shows that they probably used this calendar as well, that they were master astronomers, architects, and mathematicians. So I want to go look at this in Google Earth, make sure that I know where that is. It talks about Stonehenge and the Aubrey holes, and he did a derivation that shows that this also matches the 13-month calendar. My little idea about the Aubrey is that if you switch this D, then it's Audrey, and that I think has because they name the monster plant in Little Shop of Horrors the Audrey too, and I know that that's a code, and I'm not sure what it relates to, but maybe it relates to Stonehenge. I'm not sure. So, okay. Like I showed you, that Boaz and Jachim in the menorah gematria taught here in this book equal 26, and that equals IQ in the simple gematria and God in the simple gematria. Here are some more things that equal 26 in the menorah gematria on page 99 here. Scorpio, Taurus, Mother, Black Hole, Center, and Matter. So I just want to bring that to you because of the toroidal field gematria that I use, and all of these type of circular ideas. I do want to take a closer look at Scorpio, but here it talks about the Taurus having to do with the toroidal field, and I looked at the word birth again. Before I was making a lot of videos, I did a whole post on the word birth and showing that it matches 9 9/11/01. And I'll come back to that. But I did take apart this word uterus because it and Taurus. So let's look at that. Okay, well, in the middle of Taurus is Ur, which is the first city, and it adds up to a 39. And it has UR in it. And the U, so this is, so just the letter U, the way that I think of this, and I didn't really learn this anywhere, I was just looking at the shapes of the words, and probably insiders do know this, but I didn't read it, is that the U has this shape, and then it has the stem shape. And so I think of this as the top part of the chalice, and the reason why is because reading left to right, you have the 2 on top and the 1 below. So this would be the upward part of the chalice, or in the sky, this would be the Trinity of Suns, like this. And this one's the Star of Ra. This is the one that has the Pleiades next to it. And I don't know very much about that one. But this is the idea of that we might be an experiment of combining the DNA of all of these star systems for the betterment of peace in the galaxy, or just for fun and games. Who knows? Let's see. So you are. This is this you is. So what they're saying is this is you. The Trinity of Suns is you. That's the code here. And also it's the 3. And also it's the 21, and I've talked to you about the 12, 21, 37, 73 prime, like creation star matrix mirror. Let me scribble on this other page. So 12, the 12th prime is 37, and the 21st prime is 73. And these are both X's. These are both infinite loops of time. So you could draw them like this, except for they're the inner part of this, because they're 10s. Well, so this is the 12th, and this is the 21st prime. And my understanding, my evolving understanding of this is symbolic of creation. And this would be the start of creation, and this would be, I guess, the completion of the cycle. I don't really think there's an end, but I think it would be a completion of a cycle, sort of like pi, the holy cycle. So that's what I mean by that in short. So this would be you. So you are this, and you are also the completed creation in terms of this code, because you are the 21 prime. And then it says, so Ur is you are. And the R is the manifestation number. So this is your creation. This is, oh gosh, come on, please focus. Okay. So in the very center here is kind of like your role in everything. Then we here we have a 21 again right here. And then we have the body, which is us. Now, this number, I haven't always known what to say about this number, but it is the upward downward mirror of 36. And 36 is the seed of life, vector 9 mathematics, complete idea about the all and the nothing, and the whole, the whole circle is 360 degrees. And in Washington, D.C., we have the 360 zero rose line. So this is really, plus it's a trinity of 6s. So what it has to do is, it has to do with the physical, which the code for that is 6, even though we might be in the 3rd dimension. But if you mirror this, if this would be, do you see how this is kind of like the fall, like say this was a pond, like, and this 37 is standing on the edge of the pond. This is what you would see in the reflection. So this is the idea of the origin of the reflection. But also, if this is a trinity of sixes, this would be a trinity of nines. Because if you had a trinity of sixes here in the pond, you would have a trinity of nines here standing on the side. So to me, it points to the divine origins and the higher origins. So I hope you guys like that part. Then we have another 21 right here. So tau is a 21, and that's a 42, which adds up to the meaning of life type of number. And it's also doubly pointing to the finish of the cycle or the finish of creation. Now in the outer valence field here, there's a 61. So that would be the 21 prime plus us. 61 is usually the number that I associate with a false idea. It means church. There's a lot of there are a lot of also 16 points to this in some ways. The 16 is also the P. So, and basically we just have to juggle all these concepts for a little while until the dust settles, and then we're going to be able to see clearly out of this. So maybe what they're saying with this outer valence field is that the whole idea of worshiping the cow is a false idea, and then it needs to be broken into this. But I don't know. So that's something that you can weigh. Okay, so Taurus, in terms of the U, Taurus, again we have this U, which is 21, and the UTE, the TE is also the form of ET, and that is pi, 25, and all this adds to 46, which is double 23. 46 is double 23. So U plus pi equals the combination of chromosomes in this code. And this is what we're talking about here. We're talking about the combination of chromosomes. This is where it happens, actually. Well, probably. So isn't that interesting? That U, which means all these things that I showed you before just on the last page, plus holiness equals the combination of these chromosomes, 23 and 23. Now, in the very center of this word, the center valence is 23. And that's the ER, which is also the redoing, the recycling. That's the 23. So this could be the meaning of this day, that we have reached the bottom of a cycle. I think it's the bottom because this is a downward facing pentacle. And even if we might not see anything amazingly crazy on this day, and I kind of hope that if there is craziness planned, that it's put down, because it's just going to be disturbing for people. But this would be the reincarnation, redo, restart, and what I'm hoping is that it's the bottom. It's the bottom of the cycle. So basically, it's the maximum of the dark. It's the complete, I guess, out-breath of the dark before you start to in-breath, before you breathe it back in. So that means that the energy is continuing to climb. The dark has reached its maximum, and there may still be turbulence along the way, but a borderline has been crossed. And this is also the idea in the center of the uterus. Here we have the us. This is where we all come from. So let's see if there's anything else that I missed. The outer valence field here again. Well, it's the U and the S. This This U and the S is another 40. Do you see? So the outer valence field is the U and the S. Let me find what I do with the torus. Yeah, okay. And I think the T and the S is a 39 on that. Or I should have, let's not worry about that now. So the outer field here is the 40. This inner field is a 41. T and U. And then the very inner field is the 23. 41 is usually the word for blindness. So this would be U at the top, the Trinity of Sons, and this is the crossing. But this, besides being the fallen angels and the cross and all other kind of symbols, this is brain symbolism for the crossing behind the eyes, where your brain combines the information from both sides. And in the Bible, they talk about the symbolism of the good eye and the bad eye, and that's the point where you decide. You decide what you see. You know, two different people can look at the same thing and see something different. Someone might see something demonic, and someone might see the silver lining. And this is what you bring to it. And what it shows here is that the eyes and the crossing behind the eyes can be a source of blindness, because this adds up to 21. All right. Make sure that, okay, there's your center valence field. Talked about that, talked about this. This number, I do like to break these into halves. This whole part of the UTE is the 46. Okay, we talked about that, the pi. Okay, and then the second half of that would be the 63, which the digital root of that is 9. And then if you mirrored this up, it would be a 93. So we do have to pay attention to the 93 and the 63 mirrors. And I don't exactly know the complete symbolism of this, but basically what it is it's the manifestation of us. And it could be our collective manifestation, or it could be us being brought into being, or our evolvement. So, okay, I hope you like that. I hope you're having a good day. I haven't checked the news. If it's something to see, I will show it to you. Oh gosh, I wanted to show you this. All right, here we go. This is important because this is where I first got the idea of what the 911 and the 923 really means, and that's where we get to the idea of the starting again of the cycle, because in a reincarnation, conception is kind of where it starts, but birth is really the big party here. And that has to do with 9/11, at least the way that they constructed English. So if we are looking into their playbook to look at their symbolism, this is what probably they know. So in the very center, again, we have the R, which is the 9. Over here, we have a 2 and a 9. And that, besides being a 9/11 all in itself, and it has to do with Isis and Set, and that symbolism, the combination of that creates a gateway. The digital root is an 11. And then over here, this is a 20 and a 8. The 8 is the infinite loop of time. The T is all the crossing things that I just told you about. And that combines to be the 28, which is the final day of this week, according to the Jewish people. Feast of Tabernacles. Well, what I noticed what I decided to check, and I don't check this enough, but what I decided to check was the day elapse between the 11th of this month and the 28th of this month, and I noticed that is a 17, which is a Q form of pi, which is the power symbol, which is conception, and there's so much birth and conception symbolism having to do with the Washington Monument and Isis and the 266th Pope and so many things like that I think that was important. Now, if you add this up, the 2 plus the 8, that is a 10. And so that points to 9/11/2001. because that reduces 201. But it unreduced, it has more to do with this week that we're dealing with right now. All right, love you guys. Talk to you soon.